Dhaoibh, Fáilte Galéir on brain ramblings. So I've been tempted to make this video for a little while because I had said that I would. And this one is going to be about coming out. And it's funny, every time I do a workshop with shout out or talk to anyone about my coming out story, it's always kind of the milestone points of it, I suppose. Coming to terms, first person to come out to, all of these different things. So I thought I'd try and put most of it together and give thoughts on coming out, understanding labels, identities, do we need labels, all these kinds of things. Maybe I'll get to all of that in the next 10 minutes or so, but we'll wait and see. Yeah, kind of have to be in the right mood to do these. So I've been listening to podcasts for the last 2 hours, which is kind of nice. But anyhow, so my story, if you go chronologically, my granddad on my mom's side thought I was gay from like the age of 6 or 7. I think maybe I was more flamboyant than I am, or less flamboyant, depending on who you ask. Not typical kind of lad running out and playing football and all these kinds of things. Interested in cooking and singing and music and a little bit of dancing, teensy weensy bit, bad dancing. But yeah, kind of understood what that gay meant, same-sex attraction, when I was around 10, 11 or so, and had kind of always felt more interested in the boys in my classes than the girls in my classes. So it all kind of meshed and made sense. The more I kind of got access to internet and started looking at other people's coming out stories and everything else, the more I was kind of going, yeah, okay, this is all ringing some fairly similar bells, fairly true understandings. And yeah, I can now say that, in 5th and 6th class, when I was like 7 or 8 years old or less, I can't remember, no, 5th and 6th class would have been, yeah, like 9 and 10 before I got into 10, 11, 12. Yeah, 10, 11, 12. Anyhow, doesn't matter. Young, that, yeah, I was more interested in the boys in my class. So that was okay. Then I was kind of going, okay, well, I know who I am. I was interested in learning more. So more and more YouTube kind of stuff, reading stories. Found copies of Gay Times on the top shelves of newsagents and things like that. May have bought one or two, may have shoplifted one or two. But yeah, so reading and kind of just kind of going, yeah, okay, understanding and living my own self-identified gay life. Insofar as I understood who I was, but nothing was happening. Then that all kind of skips forward to kind of 14, 15, 16. The usual questions in school about, do I find girls, which girls do I find attractive, all these kinds of things. The uncomfortableness, discomfort, it's a better word for it, in, changing room situations and things like that sometimes, that almost ever-present / totally irrational worry that you might look at somebody, or that somebody might think you're looking at them, or whatever is going on, and all these kinds of things. And you're just kind of going, oh, for God's sake. So PE was boring anyway, because we were only really playing football. Did tennis at one stage, and useless at tennis. Did circuit training and high jumps and things like that. That was more interesting. But, eventually, like, it got to the point where I came out to my sister, partly because I thought she might have found some of the magazines, and then partly because people were asking and there were rumors going around, and I was just kind of going, oh. For like 2 years, 14, 15, rumors were going around, because when you're not talking about girls, but you're not talking about boys either, people automatically make assumptions, or try to make assumptions. So yeah, told her. Interesting. We were walking to the bus stop. Can't remember if it was raining or not, but we were walking to a bus stop, and it's just like, yeah. I know I said I wouldn't pause, but first time vlogging in public for a good while. But yeah, told her I was gay. She went, okay, when are you going to tell mum and dad? It's like, I'll tell them when I tell them. So that was okay. Time went on. Every once in a blue moon, if something came on the telly, Kate would make a comment or look at me, or I'd look at. Maybe she wasn't looking at me, but again, if I looked at her and she glanced at me, I'd think she's looking at her. Again, you see all these kinds of, misconceptions and problems that those create. Yeah. So I can't remember who the first person I told in school was, because I told some of my classmates or my year mates or people in the school. I can't remember who it was. It might have been a friend, or I don't remember. It was probably one of my friends from class, and probably one or two other people from either my year or a year above or a year below. This was in 4th year when I was around 16. I think part of it was down to bringing my laptop into school, which had, a rather attractive gentleman as a desktop picture. Yeah, that possibly, either helped start a lot of the rumors or kicked them up a gear. But yeah, so once I was out, it was a case of fending questions, again, concerned about PE and things like that, and just kind of putting up with snide comments. And one particular bully, who we did get into a fight with, yeah, but a lot of the comments and things like that were enough to make me miss about 6 consecutive months of school between my 5th and 6th year, which is the Leaving Cert, final year exams for Irish secondary school kids. And it got a lot easier to be out of school than it was to consider going back to school, because you're out of it so long that you're kind of coming back. It's like walking into a new school all over again, because everyone has changed, but then you're also kind of coming back and, having to deal with people looking at you or talking about you and all these kinds of things, or have forgotten you in a lot of cases. Thankfully, a lot of my teachers were there for support and things like that. And here's the thing, and it's the big thing. It only seems to matter a lot in our kind of early years, before the ages of kind of 18 or so, in schools, where we're so close to each other, so kind of figuring ourselves out and thinking about it all, that every slight little difference makes a whole kind of chasm of difference at the same time. I subsequently found out that I wasn't the only non-heterosexual person in my class, but also in my year. So like there were people in my class that just didn't come out until afterwards, or maybe were out but weren't out to me, so it's so interesting when you come to think of it. I will do a follow-up, because I'll keep this to 10 minutes about after school and things like that, but it's one of the big reasons for me doing the shout out workshops, is that it makes such a big difference, and at such a young age, when you're kind of just hoping to keep your head down and get through it all, that having somebody else coming in and saying, look, the cliche "it gets better" thing, it shouldn't need to get better. It should just simply be better. And it's up to the schools as much as it is to the students. It's more so up to the students, so that's why the workshops are good. It at least gives some context to words that people might be hearing, or the way people might be feeling, and that's the importance of it. But there we go. Amazing how quickly 10 minutes goes. Apologies for this. It will be minutely edited to take out gunshots, because I'm in Ardgillan Castle and there's a firing range on the grounds, I think. Anyhow, Slán go foill.